Black Out Loud Media Group.
I hate how my heart aches waiting for your text, how my breath waits counting down the seconds. I hate reaching out for you like a drug addict, desperate for that hit. I hate that you know that I'm helpless. I hate that you always seem so perfect, and I have to force myself to think of anything else. I hate how disorganized my life has become. I hate how you slipped in my mind and then some. I hate how I forget just how lonely I feel when you're not here. For 7 minutes in heaven, I'd be willing to spend my life in what feels like hell. I hate how your lips taste. I hate that you're what my body craves. I hate that I let myself love you. I hate that you love me too.
Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode. Today, guys, I have a special guest, Huwa. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Experiencing some new stuff in France. But other than that, it's been cool. Not so cool. The weather is warmer now, finally.
Oh, yes. Okay. So you all are kind of experiencing that springtime over there as well?
Yeah, after I felt like it was an ending month of winter. It's not something that I'm used to. The warmth is finally here.
How did the move go? You recently moved to France?
Yes, I moved to France in September. How was the move? It was stressful at the very beginning because I'm not someone that enjoys traveling, and I had to travel for like 2 days connecting flights to get here. And I remember it being really cold, and it was just about 14 degrees. I know over in the US you use Fahrenheit. I've always thought that was very strange, but over here we use Celsius degrees, so it was like 15 degrees, and I was cold, man. I was like, what is going on? And people, I think I was kind of like shocked that people were just walking around in shorts and crop tops, and it was like cold to me.
Yeah.
But then it got worse, and I just kept praying for the sun to come out. And now it's finally here, so yeah, I'm happy.
Okay, yeah, because you're from Nigeria, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm Nigerian.
Okay. And how's the transition been so far, living in France, going from Nigeria to France?
Well, what can I say? I'm someone that's it's kind of spontaneous, even though I'm lazy. A very weird combination. So I wanted to come to France, but I didn't learn how to speak French. I know, incredibly stupid, but I was like, it's all gonna be fun. It's the adventure. I'll learn when I get there. And now that I'm in France, I was quite enthusiastic at the very beginning to learn the language, but it just kept getting harder and harder. I think my French is even worse than when I first came here. I didn't think that was possible. I was like, nah, I just gave up on the whole thing, and I just wait for like the French to come to me because I'm really tired of struggling, and I just stay in my room all day because like I can't really communicate with a lot of people. But I've made some friends. It's been nice. They don't help me out with my French, which is fine, honestly, because I get really stressed whenever I'm back from class, and that's basically how it is at the moment.
Okay, well, congratulations first of all for making that step, that leap out. I'm sure it's going to pay off in the long run. Sometimes we do things and it may not start off how we want, but I don't know, somehow it always just works out better. I think when we get past fear or anxiety or just what if, and just actually do, the worst part is over. So I'm sure it'll get better. Yeah. So you're a poet, which is why I have you on. Love your poetry, by the way. My wife loves your poetry as well.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
when did you start poetry?
I started poetry sometime in 2015. It was my
Okay.
first year in the University of Benin, Nigeria. I was doing a bachelor's in chemical engineering. And same thing, I'm an introvert. I don't like going out. My friend had invited me to this play, and I think to motivate myself to go to the play, I had made this story in my head that I was gonna go to the play and meet someone and fall in love. So I went, hoping that I would have some connection with someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
Uh, that didn't happen. I met absolutely nobody. I just stayed at the back because I was late. But I hated the play. To be honest, I'm not even sure what the play was about. But what I do remember from that whole experience was when someone came on stage and I just like from that experience, he just started talking. He was very confident. There were other. This was during the intermission of the play. There were other
Okay.
artists that came up, rappers, dancers, but his was just incredibly unique. Right? I'd never before that time heard something like that before. Something that I had appreciated, and I noticed that unlike music, where people are more into the vibe, or in Nigeria, for instance, the beat and how you can dance to it. People were talking
Yeah.
about what he said in his piece. Like they were talking about whether or not they agreed with what he said. And, it was just like this sort of like shift from the usual performance. And
Right.
I was intrigued and I said, what is that? How come I've never heard of it? And my friend that had the extra ticket that invited me was like, oh, it's spoken word, people do it here like a lot. I was like, it's really interesting, I've never heard of it, not a lot of people have heard of it. And I just had this thing in my head where I was like, I'm going to be the one to make everyone know about this art form and appreciate
Wow.
it in Nigeria. Like that was what was in my head. I'm going to be the one to do this. And yeah, that's how the story started. 7 years now, 2017, maybe up to eight maybe. 7 years, yeah,
Yeah.
6 7 years,
Wow.
right?
Oh, that's pretty cool. So a play, going to a play, and maybe that was the the connection that you were looking for. Maybe it was just
Mm-hmm.
spoken word.
Yeah.
Um, that's pretty interesting. I love plays. I've been a fan of plays since I was a little boy, and I've never had an experience like that going to a play. It's amazing how you can experience different things with art or music or, like you said, a play, and it brings something out of you and inspires you. And I will say that you're doing a great job. When I watch your videos on Instagram, I get such a feeling of, and now that you say that you were inspired to bring spoken word out and let everybody know about spoken word, I'm feeling that, like, looking at your videos, it feels cinematic. It feels like a play. It feels like a
Mm-hmm.
one person play. So
Yeah.
you capture that very, very well.
Yeah, thank you. I actually started out writing short stories because I had really bad stage fright. So I was like, so maybe I should just take it little by little. I wasn't someone that wrote. I enjoyed writing stories like for school, but that was where it stopped.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was just gonna write like short stories and write poems, and I heard that you could get your stuff published. So that was where I started from. I started writing short stories, really long stuff, and then I started posting it out to magazines to get published. But nobody really told me like that the road to be a writer was as difficult as it is, because it's actually very difficult. I kept
Yeah.
getting rejections. And I got rejections over and over for years, like for a very, very long time. I could never get my short story published. I could never really, get it out there. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to listen to someone else. I mean, I was heartbroken, but I was like, I'm not going to listen to someone tell me that my work isn't good enough for other people to hear about it. So those short stories, I converted them to poems and I started performing. And that's why, if anyone's ever noticed, a lot of my poems sound like a story, right? I create a
Yeah.
character and I sort of act out how I think the character would act in that short story. Sometimes I do come on and I rant, about life and stuff, but a lot of the poems are acted out scenes from a short story.
When it comes to recording and performing, how do you prepare for that? Is there a process, or because to me it feels like it's just effortless, but I don't know.
Oh man, it is a process. To be honest, like, you're the first person I've told, apart from my friends, that I'm thinking of actually, well, not exactly retiring, but I'm going to have to move to a different platform now because it's not something I can keep up with anymore, right?
Yeah.
I started my first podcast in 2018. That was when I started podcasting. And that was where I learned audio editing, right? It was from podcasting, learning how to mix and all of that, learning the right equipment to use. But again, I had done this podcast for like 4 years. I'd edited some other people's podcasts as well. And I was like, nothing was really coming from it. I didn't appreciate what I had learned. It's quite funny, looking back now to see the things I had learned from short stories, from podcasting. But the podcast, like the quality of the work that I had done, was what got me a job in a marketing agency, right?
Okay.
And there's a point to all of this. I'm getting to it. When I worked in the marketing agency, I worked with the content studio, right? I worked as a content editor. So videos, the copy lines for the content we were producing, all of the scripts, getting the acts together. We did that for a couple of brands. I had left the agency after like 7 months working. Yeah, I had left. Honestly, I was just trying to figure out what to do with my life at this point. Then, I looked at TikTok. I saw people making videos on TikTok, and I was like, I've done stuff for brands. I know how it works. I know how the audio engineering and all of that works. I should try to do this and maybe use TikTok and Instagram as a portfolio, which was what I thought it was gonna be, a portfolio for my next videos, right? But the moment I wrote out the first piece, I decided to test something out. I didn't record. I didn't use like any sound equipment to record. I just set it just acted it out in front of my phone, and then I edited the video because I know accessibility is important. Based on the fact that I worked with marketing, I know we need to have texts in our videos, so I tried to be creative with the text. So I did that first one. Then I did another one where I recorded the audio first and sort of like mimed or lip synced the rest of it just to see how it was going to work. And I was just basically testing out quality. And then I put it up on TikTok, right? And, slept, woke up, like literally slept, woke up the next day thinking about the next post I was going to put. And I saw like 1,000 views. And you have to understand, at this point, this was the largest engagement I had ever had in my entire life. I saw 1,000 views. Are you joking? I've never gotten 1,000 views on any of my podcast episodes. I've been writing for such a long time. No, except, when I was working for brands and, we tried to generate. But I wasn't in the video at this point. I had other videos before my TikTok videos. Some of them flopped. Some of them did well. Like, it had gone to that point where I'd almost even given up on trying to make my name on social media or content creation. I was just trying to create a portfolio. And I thought I would do it on Instagram or TikTok. And it took off, basically. And from there, I started writing more and more poems. At this point, I'd accumulated so much work, it wasn't even that hard. Like, I had poems that nobody was going to see, so I just rewrote them, recorded them. I had no job at this point. Remember, I left my job. I had so much free time. All the knowledge I had learned from content editing, recording, audio, studio stuff and all of that, just for TikTok and all of that, had come in handy. And I did that for like the whole of 2021. And yeah, almost by the end of it, I had become this very popular spoken word poet from Nigeria. And that's basically it.
Yeah, well, you've definitely created a great portfolio. Sometimes I go through and look at some of your old posts and replay them. This makes me wish I had a video podcast so I can kind of put it up on the screen for those who haven't seen it. But I'm definitely going to put it in the show notes so people can go to your page and look at it. Some of your videos, you're actually, I can feel the moment. Some of them you're actually crying.
Yeah.
Like, how do you prepare for those deep poems?
Honestly, those are usually like the hardest to shoot. But every time I write the piece and I think of the piece to myself, I'm like, I think the character here should be sad enough to cry. Like,
Yeah.
even I keep pushing it to the very last moment, thinking maybe there's a different way I can execute this. But, it still comes back to, I think the character should cry. So, like, I don't know if you watch anime.
Yeah,
There's this one called like A Silent Voice, very emotional. I hate the fact that my brother introduced me to it, but like you watch that, you get really emotional and stuff, and it works, right? Again, in front of the camera, and I try my best to get it at the very first scene or first time. Even though that doesn't work, I don't do as many takes with emotional pieces as I do with the previous ones. Mainly because I need to have all of the words down. So, I take not a lot of time shooting it, but all the time I take to prepare, memorizing the poem over and over again, trying to get prepared for, takes a lot more time than the others, which is why I don't really like to do them as much, but sometimes I just feel like I have to. Listen, I know it looks bad, but I just need you to understand. It was stupid and impulsive, but I promise it meant nothing. He and I started out as friends, and that was all, I swear. Then you and I had problems, and I thought that it would end, so he showed up, and he listened, and it messed with my head. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened so fast. After it happened, all I felt was instant regret. I made a mistake. And this would only make us stronger if you let it go just this once. I promise it will never happen again. You are everything to me. If you leave, I'm done. Please don't let this meaningless thing stand between what we could become. I never said his name. I don't even remember his face. All the time I was with him, all I felt was shame. I am sorry. I am so sorry. So please stay.
Well, you have the editing and everything down pat. How often, if at all, do you do spoken word, like at events or in public?
Yeah, well, I used to do them when I was in Nigeria. I used to get invites to go out to perform, but I am a terrible performer in the sense that I don't like leaving my house. And social media has sort of like provided that thing for me where I didn't have to leave my house. So very few times do I go out to perform. I'm trying to change that now. That's what I'm working towards, because I think I said it before, like, I don't want to do the TikTok social media videos anymore, because the truth of the matter is it takes too long. I'm currently in school right now. I don't have the energy. Even if I wasn't in school, I think I'm just actually burnt out and I'm tired. I don't have the energy to memorize the piece, record the piece, try to act it out, get all the lighting and everything. Because, one thing that I'm happy about is that when people look at old posts that I've made, they can see the change in the quality. It's very, very clear. The change in the quality is very clear. So, and that means that a lot more effort is being put in. Before, I used to record like 4, 5, 6 videos a day. Now I'm lucky if I'm able to get just 3 in a day, because I've got all of this set up. I've got to memorize this poem. I've got to do this. The audio quality is different. Before it was easy. I'd record like 5, 6 videos, and they were very short. They were like 30 seconds. Now they are 60 seconds to 2 minutes. So it takes longer, and I'm tired. I can't keep posting those kind of videos every day, which is why I want to actually start performing. Where in France I'd be able to do that, I don't know. But I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, so you've been saying stop a lot. So do you think it's going to be a complete stop, or maybe just like a little break? Because I remember you took a break before. And because I was like, well, maybe I'm not seeing her posts on my feed. So I went to your page and I was like, no, it's been a while since she posted. And that's understandable, because like you said, you have high quality content, and I could tell it takes a lot to prepare with the lighting. And I mean, it's very theatrical. Like, you're not just for my listeners who are unfamiliar, it's like you're not just there. I mean, you have the hair that goes with whatever you're
Mm-hmm.
performing, the makeup that goes with it, or if you have a particular piece that you're sharing that doesn't require particular makeup. It's like everything that you do is intentional and there's such detail to where how it flows. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely understandable if we don't see you every day or every week.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, you think it's going to be like a long hiatus and you might come back or just
No,
stop cold?
you would still see my content. It just
Okay.
will not be um the only thing. It wouldn't be what makes up my whole page.
Right. Okay.
Before I started doing TikToks, I had a podcast, right? My podcast is still there. I'm actually even working to get back into that, right? People
Right.
still saw me. They still know the work that I did, but I had shifted a little bit, probably to just learn something new. Those poems will still be coming out, but instead of me writing with the intention that I want to post it, I would write with the intention that I like writing, and maybe I would post it, right? Because
Got it.
like I said before, I had like a bunch of poems just laying out. I didn't write them for social media. They were already there. So when I was going to record them, I could record like 5, 6, 7 videos a day because I had that much content just waiting. I don't have them anymore, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to want to create time just for social media,
Right.
And I'm saying this because, people usually think that, whenever I'm back, they expect to see that constant stream of videos every day or every 2 days. And I'm saying, well, things are going to change, because if you're going to see videos now, you would see videos of me on stage. Like, that's what I'm striving towards, right?
Okay.
To perform
Yeah.
on stage and then use that on my social media. And once in a while, maybe if I write 30-second, 60-second poems, you would see them again. What I'm trying to just say is that I'm trying to move my attention towards performing on stage now, instead of just on social media.
That feels like ultimately that was the goal anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
that's great, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to share videos of you on stage,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I just feel like by watching your videos that your stage presence would be, I mean, outstanding. I know
Mm-hmm.
you said you're an introvert, but it's from my experience, it's like the introverts shine more and unexpectedly when they're on a stage and when they're in front of people. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is, and I think that you have great preparation for when you do make that transition, and I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to seeing it.
Yeah, me too. Before I moved to social media, I was performing on stage. I found that I
Okay.
actually preferred that. But the
Ah,
problem was
okay.
that I wasn't getting as popular as I wanted to get, as
Got it.
fast as I needed to get. Because, like I told you before, my goal was to make people like poetry. It wasn't popular in Nigeria, and I wanted it to be. I wanted it, when it finally becomes popular, I wanted it to be the face of that. But performing on stage, how many people are there? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 at most, in school, like auditoriums and stuff. But on social media, you've got like millions of people seeing you, right?
Yeah.
So and it's also convenient because you're doing it in your own home. But the preparation of doing it when you do social media, it starts from writing to audio editing to you memorizing performing in front of your camera. And unlike when you're performing in front of your camera, what you have to take, like, because I take like multiple takes, 20 takes and all of that. On stage, it's just once. I mean, there's an advantage and
Right.
there's also a disadvantage, but it's just once. You do it, you're done. You move on,
Yeah.
and that's like I used to be really good. I'm not sure how, because I haven't been on stage for a long time. I used to have really bad stage fright. But I like being spontaneous, so I'm looking forward to that.
How has the reception been in Nigeria for those who know you and don't know you? Did they receive the spoken word? Like, how was that experience going through trying to expose everyone to spoken word and poetry?
Oh, it's always very funny because, at the very beginning, well, my poems weren't that great at the very beginning. There were people who were supporting me, and I felt like it was more like, because she's our friend, we don't want to discourage her. let's support her, right?
Right.
And then there were people who saw something in the work that I did, who said, this sounds great, this, we want to work with you,
Okay.
so that, as you, we could be elevated together. There were people who definitely had faith in me, and I honestly will not be there without the faith that they had in me. At the very beginning, I didn't even consider it rough, because I thought it was a project, like it was a passion project for me. I
Okay.
was studying engineering. That was going to be like my plan A. This was more like something that I was doing at the side for fun that took up a lot of my time. I met other engineering students like me who were pursuing videography, photography, fine arts as well. And, I got involved in that space. And we all sort of like worked together to be where we are today. A lot of them have gone on to be professional photographers, traveling around the world to capture works for clients, and all of that. But like at the very beginning, there were people who would tell me things like, poetry is dead, you should be a rapper instead. Like rapping is what everybody's into right now. But I need people to understand that I wanted to be the person that sets the trends, not someone that
Yes.
followed the
Yes.
trends, That's what I wanted to be. So if it wasn't trending, I was going to make it trend. That was all that was going on in my head, right? And there were
Right.
times where it wasn't working and I would get heartbroken. But it was always it's hard for me to explain. It was always very interesting to me to say, okay, this one didn't work, let's try something else. And then when you have like the very little victories, like you see someone that recognized you from a video you made where you only had like 200 views, but this person recognized you and go, hey, I saw, this is a stranger. They don't owe me anything to say that the video was nice. But they see me and they, oh yeah, I saw your video. Someone shared it with me. I think that it's really nice. I think you should. Or when your friends share with other people as well, like, those little haze and you're doing really well. They generally like go a long way. They do go a long way. And it was all of these videos that I did that got me into voice acting, later got me into podcasting, later got me to work with content editors, which finally pushed me into creating TikTok and Instagram content that I felt would be able to connect Nigerians to spoken word. Now, at the moment, there are other spoken word artists, not just me, that are on Instagram and on TikTok as well that are doing really, really well. And, I feel like the goal I said I was going to accomplish, I have.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Everything is paying off. So you went to school for engineering? That is interesting because I went to school for engineering and I ended up finishing with a physics degree. I had a guest on Ink Jess. She had the science background as well. But I'm into photography, art, and poetry and all those other things. So, and you said you met other students that had that same passion as
Yeah.
well. So I'm thinking, because I know over here growing up, we were taught to go to school, and that was like the thing. Like you needed to go to school, go to college. And we weren't really allowed to pursue our passions. It seemed like if you wanted to be a photographer or artist or something like that, people were telling you like that's not a real career
Yeah.
goal. That's not something you go to school for. That's not something you perfect. But I've seen people who, it's a guy I went to high school with. He's an artist. Found him on Instagram a couple of years ago. He went to school for art and now he makes a living as an artist. And so I think it's important that we also tap into our creative side. Even though we may be good in math, English, science, and things like that, I think that when we tap into those other things, those creative sides, we reach more people. And I think that's what it's all about. Like it's
Yeah.
reaching people, inspiring people. Yeah, you can do that with your education and things like that, with the regular things like science, math, history, etc. But I feel like the arts are where we really, really reach people because everybody can relate to the arts. Everybody can find something in it. And sometimes when it comes to education and different things like that, some things may seem intimidating for some people because everybody's not really on the same learning level. But I feel like art and expression and creativity can capture everybody. It gets everybody involved and somebody can find something out of it and use it to their life, apply it to their life. It helps inspire them. Like for instance, your videos, I haven't done it yet, but they've inspired me to try to do one myself, and I'm just like, I'm gonna do it one day. I'm gonna do it one
Mm-hmm.
day
You should.
because yeah, I mean, it's so. When I first saw your video, one of your videos, I was just like, wow, and I just kept watching it over and over, and I'm just like, man, this is really dope. It feels like I'm in the moment, and I love how you have the lighting on you, but your background is dark.
Yeah.
So it feels like I'm in it's like you're on stage, like I'm at a play, and it's like, you're on stage and can't see anything but you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm in the room with you. So
Yeah.
that has inspired me. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate you sharing your content, and hey, I'm glad that you're not feeling the pressure to continue to try to do stuff daily or weekly or what have you, because when we write, it's really great that we can write and still enjoy it. You don't want it to feel like a job or
Yeah. Exactly.
pressure. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm glad that you're recognizing that and not letting it take the passion and enjoyment of writing away from you.
Yeah, like you're completely right about feeling the pressure. I do feel the pressure, like a lot of the time, so much so that when I have exhausted all the videos that I have um edited and are ready to publish, when I've posted everything, I uninstall my Instagram and TikTok like immediately. Because
Ah,
if I leave it there, I start to get DMs, comments. Your last post was 2 days ago. When's the new video? What's going
no, for
on? We
real.
haven't seen this. We've not seen that. I start to see other poets doing amazing things, and I'm like, I should be here. I should also be doing this, but I'm tired.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm tired. Like I don't have the time to do this anymore the way I used to do it before, and I'm like, I'm in France now. I'm traveling. I'm seeing and meeting different people. So that's why I was like, I've got to like create a change and see how to better manage my page in such a way that it doesn't feel like I'm forced to do it anymore.
I remember you were working on a book.
Yeah, that was like a 2021, and
Right.
I'm currently trying to work on getting it as a hard copy book and audiobook, because when I was in Nigeria, it was actually difficult to publish it on Amazon as a Nigerian.
Oh,
So
okay.
many restrictions, so many things just weren't working out. Even after I finally got on soft copy, there were a lot of people who still had problems like getting the book. It was just a mess. So now that I'm in France, I'm hoping that those restrictions won't be there anymore, and I would be able to work on doing a revised edition that include the new poems, and also publish it as an audiobook as well with the additional stuff. Like the first edition is gonna be there, it's always going to be
Right.
there, but I'm thinking of creating like a newer edition and having it published. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to that, because I remember when you made the announcement, and then I went to the link in your bio, and I was like, I don't think I can buy it from where
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was sad. So like, yeah, I'm hopefully, like, that's what I'm working on right now. Actually,
Okay.
I'm working on a lot of things, but that one, I spoke to the illustrator because it wasn't just a book of poems, it had like a bunch of illustrations with it as well, and I was just having conversations with her about how I want to create like a second edition of the book, but this time it's going to be published as hard copy and audiobook. So
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment too.
You said that you started writing short stories. Do you
Hmm.
still write those in your spare time? Well, do you have any spare time to really write like
Oh,
you used to?
I got back to writing short stories just recently, a couple months back. I started
Okay.
writing short stories again. And good news, one of them is going to be published in a literary magazine. Like, I was so happy when I finally
Congratulations. Yeah.
when I finally got it. I was like, oh my gosh. I haven't really made like a general announcement on any of my pages yet until it goes up on the magazine, and then I can tell people that, hey, go read it here.
Yeah.
But it's been confirmed that the poem, not the poem, the story is gonna go up on the magazine soon. So yeah, I basically switched into writing short stories, writing longer poems, because that's like a lot of the new poems I've been writing right now are not, which is why I said I wanted to go back to stage, are not something I can put on TikTok because they're like 5 minutes, 6 minutes long, which was how I started, right?
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, longer form pieces, short stories again, podcasting, like that's what people should expect now. Podcast is coming back. You'd probably see me perform a lot on stage, and the book as well, but not so much TikTok and Instagram Reels type of content. Like I would still be making them, but I mean, I have all of these poems that I could perform on stage and create good content from, and I could put. I'm also like working on pieces that are exclusive to just the books, the audiobook, and the hard copy. So there's that to look forward to. Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to create a different goal, because like I told you before, I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to achieve at the very beginning, back in 2015, 2016, when I said I wanted to go into it. I feel like I've achieved that. It's time to sort of like switch into something new moving forward.
That's it. Once you've achieved that goal, it's time to move to the next goal. And once you achieve that, just keep going. Sometimes people can get complacent and not realize that there's so much more that we're supposed to do and that we need to do to reach people, because like I said, your poetry, your spoken word is really reaching people. And even when I notice the comments, it's like, wow. And you can tell that, well, most of them are genuine, heartfelt, except for the bots that jump on there. I don't know where they come from,
right?
But it's like, I don't know, like I'm definitely going to put like some links in the show notes for anybody that's listening, so they can go check it out. But I mean, I'm telling you, it's such an experience to watch your videos, and I really appreciate that. And I love that you're writing short stories again. I need to get back into short story writing myself. I'm working on another book, and my intention was to have some short stories in it, but I kind of got away from that, and I had like a finish date, a couple of different times in the month. I think I wanted to have it done by National Poetry Month, and it didn't work out. I finished the book, and after I got it back from the editor, she liked it, and she was just saying that about how I should write some short poems too. And I was like, wow, I actually do love writing like haikus, elshins, cinquains, and short poems, but I didn't want to include it in the book. And she was like, oh man, that's great, you should. So now I'm at a point where I've been writing some more poems for the book, and my latest goal was June, but I don't think I'm going to put that type of pressure on myself. I can say at least by the end of the year, it'll be done. And I might, after talking to you, I'm thinking like, maybe I do need to add those short stories in there. And that was the problem, where I haven't been able to really say that I'm done. Even though all the editing and everything is done, but I just felt like a push to keep going. And I'm like, maybe those short stories really need to be in there.
Yeah. Well, the fascinating thing about art or writing is that I don't really think we ever feel like we're done.
Right.
And even for me, like I said, I'm actually like a pretty lazy person. I'd be like, I don't feel like it's done, but it's going up. Like I'm not doing this again. It's not done, but it's going up. I do that a lot for some of my videos. Like I look at it, this isn't done, but it's going up because I'm done with it. Like it's not done, but I'm done. So I don't know. I feel like it has to get to a point where you're like, it's not done, but it has to go up.
Right.
It has to go up.
Yes.
And I try my best not to look at, because I could get very, again, one of the reasons why usually people would advise that, oh, you post your videos, like when you finish editing them, you post them all at once. And I'm like, if I don't post them, then I will start to look at, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that.
Yes.
What are people going to say about this? And then I end up not posting it. It has happened several times, which is why I don't post weekly. If I used to post weekly, I would be pretty consistent. But I cannot post weekly because I would end up not posting anything. So the faster I write it, the faster I post it and get it out of my system and out of my computer, I know that it's out in the world, then I uninstall my Instagram and TikTok so I don't have to look at it. The better it is for everyone. So it's finally out there. I don't have the time or the space or the luxury to sit down on the piece and tend to it until I think it's ready. I don't think he ever will be.
Right, right. That's because, man, it's been so many different pieces that I just wanted to share in general,
Mm-hmm.
because this book that I'm working on now, it all started from just sitting and thinking, because my first two books are dedicated towards love.
Mm.
As we talked about in the pre-show, like my whole movement, I guess you could say, was just trying to spread love in a world that seems to be full of hate. Well, this particular book, I wanted to go in a different direction because my audience for the first two books, of course, were women. And I was like, I need to kind of have something that would be geared towards men, but not specifically. So something
Mm-hmm.
that they could at least enjoy. And then, unfortunately, the tragedy with George Floyd being murdered, it kind of shifted my book into writing more. I guess, well, it was a lot of expressive poems that I wrote that I probably wasn't going to share, but there is that song, Strange Fruit, and it was actually a poem, but I wrote my own version called Familiar Fruit. And I was kind of on the fence about sharing it, but I'm going to put it in the book. But I started to think like I need to try to share some positive black stories, because the trauma and the painful things are seems to be like what everybody loves and everybody reveres, like, oh, this is so great. And I wanted to do my part to put some positive stories out there, because there are some positive stories. There are a lot of positive stories that we have, a lot of positive things. And so with writing that poem, Familiar Fruit, man, I wrote that thing over and over so many times, and then I finally just had to tell myself, that's it, this is it, this is done.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't shared it yet, but it took me a long time. I want to say it might have took about a year and a half, maybe, to where I
Wow.
just, yeah, I finally just said stop. So
Yeah.
I completely understand how that is, and that because we're never going to be fully satisfied with whatever we do, because I mean, being a writer, our mind constantly goes and we think of new ways to do things. I mean, it's so unintentional and natural. It's like, I could have said this, or maybe if I put this word here. It's like you're always going to constantly do that, and you have to find a place to stop. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel you completely with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to embrace, like, hey, it's not done to my standards or what I think my standards are, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put it up, because if you
Yep.
don't, nobody's gonna see it, you're not gonna be able to share it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, before I let you get out of here, is there anything you want to share with my listeners? Any new information? Anything you have coming up? Your accounts where anybody can follow you?
So I'm popularly known on TikTok, and Instagram. I use the same username. I am Huwa. I recently started getting active on Twitter, and I just, finally got into being active on Facebook as well.
Okay.
So if people could follow me there, that would be great. I've got YouTube content that I'm working on as well. I'm not gonna tell anyone what it is, though I already have like the drafts down, and it's not gonna be performance poetry. Sorry about that. It's gonna be something new. And I hope
That's
that
cool.
people
Yeah.
like it. I hope that people like it. So that's gonna be coming up on my YouTube channel, and I've already got like the planning down, writing scripts, and all of that for it. So yeah, people can. I mean, if you type in "I am Hua," I think YouTube, Instagram, TikTok will show. Twitter, it's a
Okay.
different username. I think because I didn't want the same pressure that came from Instagram and all the other pages. I'm just moving wild on that platform, which is why I decided to go with a different username. It's Hey Huwa here. Like if you watch Avatar, like Hey Zuko here. Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I'll definitely have that information in the show
Mm-hmm.
notes, so people can just click on the links. But I just want to thank you for your time. I wish you nothing but success with this new venture and this new direction you're going. I'm sure that it will be received well. I'm sure that it's going to blow your mind. It's going to be something you probably haven't anticipated. And once you get there and start doing it, I feel like it's just going to be such a peaceful place for you. And I'm looking forward to your new content.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope people like it. But that's like the lovely thing about starting new stuff. I don't know if people will like it, and that's okay. It's about experimenting, finding out what people like, and
Right.
that's just the fun part.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for coming on. And to my
Thanks for
listeners,
having me.
remember, keep pushing forward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.